Hello again, everyone. Welcome to our daily devotion for Wednesday, September 6th, 2023. Thank you so much for spending this time with me in God's Word today, as together we grow in our faith and in our knowledge of Jesus Christ as our Savior. Today, we enter the final section of Ezekiel's prophecy. The final 9 chapters of Ezekiel's prophecy give us a extremely detailed description of a temple that never was built. The year is 572 BC. It has been 14 years since Jerusalem fell to the Babylonians, and the Babylonians destroyed God's temple. Even before that, you'll remember that God gave Ezekiel a vision of his glory leaving the temple, which was a symbol of how the Lord was removing his presence from the people because of their rebellion. Well, now 14 years after the temple fell, the Lord is bringing a message of restoration and return to the people of Israel who still are in exile in Babylon. And he does that by describing in almost exhausting detail a temple. Again, this temple never was built. It was a symbolic temple, but if you remember the book of Revelation, right at the end of the book of Revelation, John sees the New Jerusalem coming down out of heaven. That is a picture of God's people. And there's no temple in that New Jerusalem because God is there with his people. Well, we have a similar picture here in these final 9 chapters of Ezekiel. We see a new temple being built, God's people being built as a temple. And at the end of this whole description, we're going to see that the Lord's glory, once again, is among his people. As we go through these final 9 chapters, you are going to be inundated with a lot of details. Don't get caught up in all the details. Just remember, this is a picture of God's people restored, redeemed, and they have God's presence among them. In the 25th year of our exile, at the beginning of the year, on the 10th day of the month, in the 14th year after Jerusalem had been captured, on that very day, the Lord's hand was on me, and he brought me there. In visions of God, he took me to the land of Israel and set me down on a very high mountain. On its southern slope was a structure resembling a city. He brought me there, and I saw a man whose appearance was like bronze, with a linen cord and a measuring rod in his hand. He was standing by the city gate. He spoke to me, "Son of man, look with your eyes, listen with your ears, and pay attention to everything I am going to show you. For you have been brought here so that I might show it to you. Report everything you see to the house of Israel." Now there was a wall surrounding the outside of the temple. The measuring rod in the man's hand was 6 units of 21 inches. Each unit was the standard length plus 3 inches. He measured the thickness of the wall structure. It was 10.5 feet, and its height was the same. Then he came to the gate that faced east and climbed its steps. He measured the threshold of the gate. It was 10.5 feet deep. One threshold was 10.5 feet deep. Each recess was 10.5 feet long and 10.5 feet deep, and there was a space of 8 3/4 feet between the recesses. The inner threshold of the gate on the temple side next to the gate's portico was 10.5 feet. Next, he measured the gate's portico. It was 14 feet, and its jambs were 3.5 feet. The gate's portico was on the temple side. There were 3 recesses on each side of the east gate, each with the same measurements, and the jambs on either side also had the same measurements. Then he measured the width of the gate's entry. It was 17.5 feet, while the width of the gate was 22 3/4 feet. There was a barrier of 21 inches in front of the recesses on both sides, and the recesses on each side were 10.5 feet square.
Then he measured the gate from the roof of one recess to the roof of the opposite one. The distance was 43¾ feet. The openings of the recesses faced each other. Next, he measured the porch, 105 feet. The distance from the front of the gate at the entrance to the front of the gate's portico on the inside was 87½ feet. The recesses and their jambs had beveled windows all around the inside of the gate. The porticos also had windows all around on the inside. Each jamb was decorated with palm trees. Then he brought me into the outer court, and there were chambers and a paved surface laid out on all around the court. 30 chambers faced the pavement, which flanked the courtyard's gates and corresponded to the length of the gates. This was the lower pavement. Then he measured the distance from the front of the lower gate to the exterior front of the inner court. It was 175 feet. This was the east. Next, the north is described. He measured the gate of the outer court facing north, both its length and width. Its 3 recesses on each side, its jambs, and its portico had the same measurements as the first gate, 87½ feet long and 43¾ feet wide. Its windows, portico, and palm trees had the same measurements as those of the gate that faced east. 7 steps led up to the gate, and its portico was ahead of them. The inner court had a gate facing the north gate, like the one on the east. He measured the distance from gate to gate. It was 175 feet. He brought me to the south side, and there was also a gate on the south. He measured its jambs and portico. They had the same measurements as the others. Both the gate and its portico had windows all around, like the other windows. It was 87½ feet long and 43¾ feet wide. Its stairway had 7 steps, and its portico was ahead of them. It had palm trees on its jambs, one on each side. The inner court had a gate on the south. He measured from gate to gate on the south. It was 175 feet. Then he brought me to the inner court through the south gate. When he measured the south gate, it had the same measurements as the others. Its recesses, jambs, and portico had the same measurements as the others. Both it and its portico had windows all around. It was 87½ feet long and 43¾ feet wide. There were porticos all around, 43¾ feet long and 8¾ feet wide. Its portico faced the outer court, and its jambs were decorated with palm trees. Its stairway had 8 steps. Then he brought me to the inner court on the east side. When he measured the gate, it had the same measurements as the others. Its recesses, jambs, and portico had the same measurements as the others. Both it and its portico had windows all around it. It was 87½ feet long and 43¾ feet wide. Its portico faced the outer court, and its jambs were decorated with palm trees on each side. Its stairway had 8 steps. Then he brought me to the north gate. When he measured it, it had the same measurements as the others, as did its recesses, jambs, and portico. It also had windows all around. It was 87½ feet long and 43¾ feet wide. Its portico faced the outer court, and its jambs were decorated with palm trees on each side. Its stairway had 8 steps. There was a chamber whose door opened into the gate's portico. The burnt offering was to be washed there. Inside the gate's portico, there were 2 tables on each side, on which to slaughter the burnt offering, sin offering, and guilt offering. Outside, as one approaches the entrance of the north gate, there were 2 tables on one side, and 2 more tables on the other side of the gate's portico. So there were 4 tables inside the gate, and 4 outside, 8 tables in all on which the slaughtering was to be done. There were also 4 tables of cut stone for the burnt offering, each 31½ inches long, 31½ inches wide, and 21 inches high. The utensils used to slaughter the burnt offerings and other sacrifices were placed on them. There were 3-inch hooks fastened all around the inside of the room, and the flesh of the offering was to be laid on the tables. Outside the inner gate, within the inner court, there were chambers for the singers, one beside the north gate facing south, and another beside the south gate facing north. Then the man said to me, "This chamber that faces south is for the priests who keep charge of the temple. The chamber that faces north is for the priests who keep charge of the altar. These are the sons of Zadok, the ones from the sons of Levi who may approach the Lord to serve him." Next, he measured the court. It was square, 175 feet long and 175 feet wide. The altar was in front of the temple. Then he brought me to the portico of the temple and measured the jambs of the portico. They were 8 3/4 feet thick on each side. The width of the gates was 24.5 feet, and the side walls of the gate were 5 1/4 feet wide on each side. The portico was 35 feet across and 21 feet deep, and 10 steps led up to it. There were pillars by the jambs, 1 on each side. Our psalm today is Psalm 91, a psalm that describes for us the amazing protection that we receive from our Heavenly Father. Psalm 91. The one who lives under the protection of the Most High dwells in the shadow of the Almighty. I will say concerning the Lord, who is my refuge and my fortress, my God in whom I trust. He himself will rescue you from the bird trap, from the destructive plague. He will cover you with his feathers, and you will take refuge under his wings. His faithfulness will be a protective shield. You will not fear the terror of the night, the arrow that flies by day, the plague that stalks in darkness, or the pestilence that ravages at noon. Though 1,000 fall at your side and 10,000 at your right hand, the pestilence will not reach you. You will only see it with your eyes and witness the punishment of the wicked. Because you have made the Lord, my refuge, the Most High, your dwelling place, no harm will come to you, no plague will come near your tent, for he will give his angels orders concerning you to protect you in all your ways. They will support you with their hands so that you will not strike your foot against a stone. You will tread on the lion and the cobra. You will trample the young lion and the serpent. Because he has his heart set on me, I will deliver him. I will protect him because he knows my name. When he calls out to me, I will answer him and will be with him in trouble. I will rescue him and give him honor. I will satisfy him with a long life and show him my salvation. And now the Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face shine on you and be gracious to you. The Lord look upon you with his favor and give you peace. Amen. Thank you so much for spending this time with me in God's Word today. May the Lord richly bless your day. And I look forward to seeing you again tomorrow.